Madam Speaker, government side does concede the fact that it's infinitely better when the U.S. and Korea exchanges words rather than missiles. However, when you do agree to have the top of your nation meet with the top of the North Korean regime, what happens is that you give North Korea what it so long has craved for: respect, legitimacy to for the North Korean regime. But furthermore, you are most likely, knowing these two presidents, going to get an outcome that's worse not only for America and North Korea, but for the whole international community. We're very happy to propose. We're going to talk about two main themes coming from Prime Minister. First of all, we're going to talk about the likely outcome and what exactly is probably going to happen, broken up into three main scenarios. Secondly, we're going to talk about the political implications of two leaders and the head of the free world meeting with North Korea. Before that, let's go on to the model coming from government side today, right? A basic what needs to be clear from government side is that we are all for negotiations, right? If you think that however, we think that only missionaries or lower class people rather than the president should be sent. But not only that, we think that these talks only should happen when certain things are agreed upon by North Korea. Meaning the fact that the assumption right now that suddenly magically flying North Korea out there to meet with someone will suddenly solve all of the denuclearization, the abducted refugees problems within North Korea will be solved. We don't think that's likely to happen. We'll show you why. But furthermore, let's go on to the context of this debate, right? Three main things here. First of all, this isn't some radical plan from North Korea where they've never invited any president before. In past decades, they have invited George W. Bush, the other George Bush, Obama, and every single one of them has refused. But there is one president that has agreed to meet with North Korea, and that's Clinton, right? And Clinton meant for the Sunshine Policy and the six-party policy as well, right? And what happened then is the fact that even though North Korea was on the brink, on the tipping point of because of the political and financial pressure going on for the United States, they backed out suddenly because of the fact that they thought that meeting with Clinton will suddenly solve everything, and there was no more pressure for that. Meaning the fact that A, presidents in the past have refused to meet with North Korea for a certain reason, but B, when they did meet with them with Clinton, it has ended with North Korea levering off of all pressure and suddenly feeling as though they can do anything, and that is why North Korea has not changed for decades and decades and decades, and we think the same thing will prolong if Trump does actually go on with this, right? But furthermore, the meeting between these two presidents, nothing is actually guaranteed, right? North Korea has only said, we may consider suspending nuclear. We actually haven't considered stop making nuclear tests, or for example, missile tests, right? We have no guarantee coming from the North Korean regime. You're going in with actually nothing guaranteed. We think that's very risky. Why is that? Because the likely outcome of these two leaders is two main things, right? First of all, we think that considering the North Korean, United States leader, it's very unlikely that you will get any concession, but furthermore, you will get any negotiations whatsoever. Why is that? For two main characteristics. Let's start with, for example, Trump, right? First of all, Trump's number one concern right now is actually winning the next primary election, considering the fact that his statistics are so low. However, let's think about how his whole campaign is brought and how his whole presidency has been built on. It's the idea of the fact of a strong America, meaning the fact that he is the one who is actually going to strengthen America, who's going to make America great again, and every single thing that he has actually done is in favor of that ego of the fact that he is strong and he's not willing to concede whatsoever, right? Meaning the fact that he's afraid to weaken his image, and it's actually going to get worse considering the fact that the primaries are going to come out. With that in mind, what is said here? Trump will continue the stance to never actually ever concede to anything that North Korea has said, and because of that, negotiations are unlikely to happen from Trump's side. Going on to Kim Jong-Un's side, right? Kim Jong-Un's whole legitimacy is based on the idea that he is always right, that he's the only strong one. His whole dictatorship is based on that. His whole legitimacy in the public sphere or the international sphere is based on the idea that he is so strong that no other nations can affect him, that he himself can decide everything. With that in mind, these two obviously, just based on pure characteristics, it's very unlikely for them to compromise or to negotiate in any way. We don't think it's going to happen. But secondly, with more personal reasons, right? If you open up Twitter, you find Donald Trump calling this guy a fat pig, and you call, for example, see Kim Jong-Un calling him a child with the intelligence of a 5-year-old, which is kind of true, right? But we think that because of that, considering the fact that you're very unlikely, as an average human, to responsibly talk to someone who has called you a fat pig, we think that, especially with the temper that Donald Trump has had, especially with the idea that he has a reputation for letting his temper get ahead of him, of not listening to his aides, of taking irrational choices, it's very unlikely likely for this to A, have any compromise, but B, even if it does, a very radical compromise, right? What are we talking about here? Three main things, three main likely outcomes. First of all, two main points on the point that this negotiation won't go well. We think first it will lead to the massive radicalization of North Korea. Why is that? Once the leaders of two countries talk doesn't go well, what that's going to lead to is a total shutdown of both nations. Meaning the fact that President Trump is going to say, we're not going to allow any talks whatsoever. We're not even going to send our missionaries because it didn't go well with me. There's no way it's going to go well with, for example, whoever's Mike Pence, right? So because of that, you're going to get a total shutdown of North Korea. North Korea, because of that, is going to say that, since we can't do anything through diplomatic talks, we have to use radicalization. It justifies them using military aggression and using radical means to be able to get their ways. We think it's going to actually make North Korea much worse. It's going to lead to an increase in nuclear missiles. There's no way it goes wrong. But let's take their best case. Even if it does go good, right? Two main things are likely to happen. One, a super official diplomatic concession. Yeah, go ahead.
So why does not accepting this? Wouldn't it also justify them further progressing of nuclear tensions those countries?
No, in the past, as we said, every single president has refused to meet with North Korea, and because of that, there was no jump in, for example, then increasing nuclear weapons. We think it's just gonna be they're just treating us like they always have. Okay, with that in mind, we think that A is going to lead to a superficial diplomatic concession, right? Meaning the fact that, for example, with Clinton and, for example, the sunshine policy, although on the surface it seemed as though these two countries were getting along, there was actually no meaningful progress, nothing was ever done. Or secondly, we think a super radical outcome might come, right? These two leaders might get drunk over dinner or something, and Trump might say, hey, if you pay for our Mexico wall, we're actually you can start making nuclear weapons or something like that, right? There's no way that, considering these two presidents, considering the current context, that this will ever go well. It will only lead to A, no meaningful progress, B, super radical outcome, or C, the idea of no negotiation happening whatsoever. We're very happy to close.